Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of Primed. Today I'm mainly going to be talking about the weekend that has just gone, which was the UK Infinity the Game's satellite event at Firestorm's Games, and it was just an absolutely phenomenal weekend. Um, I did a lot better than I intended, which I'm really happy about. So my kind of plan for tonight is to go through some of my lists, to talk about a bit of the games, to sort of have a look at some of the tables, and I've got some nice videos to show you along the way. So yeah, welcome and along, join us for the ride. So I was super excited about the satellite event. It's been a long time coming, and I suppose it kind of seems like that momentous kind of uh, giant kind of event that only happens every so often. You hear a lot of it coming from America, so I was super glad to find out that we were having one. Hello, Kevin. I was a Toha player next to you last game. Congrats. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kevin. How did your weekend go? Did you do as well as you thought? So I'll just wait for Kevin to see how he's doing. So there could be a little bit of a delay on the feed as well. It seems like that was something that happened last time. Aim for top 16, finished 11th. Well done, my man. So you must have been just below me because I finished 10th. So that seems pretty decent if you're asking me, especially considering it was a 58 sort of man tournament. I thought that was pretty good. And I think realistically you needed about 4 majors, watching 12 points to get to the top. So well done for that. Yes, you did, Andy. Yeah, the game was for first place as well. Oh, well, commiserations, my man, if that was for first place. I think it's also a bit strange when you get that kind of swing and you've gone from first to second. That's always kind of like I suppose, sorry, I mean that you go from kind of second to jumping all the way down. That's incredibly difficult. Um, yeah. Oh man, that sucks. Maybe next time. Are you going to Fleet? Do you have another shot at a satellite event? Um, will you be able to, regain some honor from that? Just as we're talking, guys, I'm going to try and set up. Yeah, it does show very close. Not this year. That's a shame. Me neither. It sold out, and I only kind of found out about it not that long ago. I would have liked to have gone. Um, I'm just going to set up some the comments, guys, so I can respond to you a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is I will show you this video that I've prepared. If you weren't at the tournament itself, it just shows you just how amazing the venue was, and the tables. It was truly kind of everything I'd really hoped for. Firestorm Games was just a phenomenal venue. You had a bar on site, an amazing shop. They did some good grub for lunch, and there was about 100 tables. So enjoy the video, my guys. So I hope you enjoyed that little video there. It kind of just shows just how phenomenal the event itself was. I don't even think it got some of the back tables in, which were equally as nice, I suppose. Um, some of the terrain was unpainted, as you say, that Infinity terrain. Um, I think it's possible that we could have had it all painted. There wasn't that many calls out for tables. I think Callum relied on the people he knew were going to bring them reliably, because you needed so many tables. You needed about 30. But there were very few that were unpainted. There were some that played a little bit strangely, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But for the most part, they were pretty beautiful, and there were quite a lot of them that used different rules, which was very interesting. Something that I wasn't quite ready for, I suppose. I hadn't really planned that. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to start off with some of my list. I one listed it for the weekend, and tell you a little bit how things went. So let's get into this. So um, I broke out Dirty Towheart again. It's something I've been very comfortable with, and I've been running for a long time. Um, Despite the FAQ changes, I wasn't that bothered with the change to Symbiomates. Um, I'm quite happy. Really, actually, quite happy because I think it's made it very fair. It's still pretty powerful, and I do really enjoy the turtle immunity, which saved me a few times over the weekend. Um, yeah, Dave, I suppose going back to sort of the train rules a little bit, there were quite a lot of sheets that described what was happening. So we had some sort of low vis zones, sat zones, um, close quarters, which was interesting. I'd not come across that before. Um, so it was very, very interesting. And I suppose it made it worthwhile for those people that had those multi-terrain rules, which was good. So thinking about the list I brought then. So um, this is something that I've played with reasonably for quite a while. It's changed and developed as time has gone on, but now I'm actually feeling it's quite solid, and I quite enjoy it. But the weekend has definitely made me consider changing one or two things. So it's a two list Toha, um, two group. And within that, I'm starting off with a Rasail Lieutenant. It's something I always have as my lieutenant because um, I just really, really like it. I think it's really solid. I'm not bothered if it dies really because of chain of command. Rasails themselves, I think they're just amazing considering that they're light infantry. You get 3 wounds, stick a Pokemon on it, and it's always in cover with the nano screen. I think it's phenomenal. But what I like most about this is the viral combi rifle. I try and take almost as much viral as I can. I might need to rethink that now the totals immunity has changed. Um, but I think it's excellent. Over the weekend, I had this Rasail and Alis Kisan, which you can see down here. Um, Both of them in a single round took out 2 tags, the Raicho and the Overtron, and that was merely because it forces 2 BTS saves, and it was just uh, the weight of dice that made that happen. So I really, really like Viral. I think it's phenomenal. And during this time as well, having a Chaxa with Mimetism and a heavy flamethrower has meant that I've been able to sneak around some corners, and I stuck a lot of Seb's Invincible Army under some heavy flamer templates. So it makes people make some interesting decisions, because if you fight back, you're kind of you're gonna eat something. So um, thanks. I'm guessing that's Callum. Um, you run an amazing tournament, my man. Thank you for the footage. I think you've just missed the video, but if you switch back a few minutes, you'll be able to see it. Yeah, it was really great meeting you on the day. Um, so yeah, so going back to the list then, I've brought another Rasail, and this time it's got a Spitfire. I do really like it. Thanks, Callum. I really like Rasails. Again, this one I've stuck with a Spitfire. It's my one to run forward. Hi, Tim. Um, they're just phenomenal. So now going down into my main ARO pieces. So I play quite defensively. So when I set up, I normally have a triad of having the naked TO. When I had yeah, so I set up defensive fire lanes, fire teams. So in a triad, I always have a Sakil, a Gaurel with an MSV2 sniper, and the Sakil has a missile launcher. Um, Previously, I have tried running multiple Sakils, but I think it's very, very difficult because just because of the amount of points in the SWC, you can just drop into them with the HMGs. But I really like the missile launcher because having 2 dice is just terrifying, and it has the light shotgun when you get up close to it, which I think beats the HMG. Very, very powerful. Um, the Gao rail is there for the MSBT goodness, and I stick that slightly further back because of the sniper, and then I normally put a prone Kumateo behind the Sukil, which just means I can get it back up if it goes down because it's so valuable, and I put the last 2 Pokemons on those two. The one thing this lets me down though is that my main specialist, the Doctor Engineer, is not running up forward, so I'd swapped that about throughout the tournament to put a McCall when I didn't need it in there. But otherwise, I was running the 2 McCalls with Ayla's Kisan. Ayla's Kisan's pretty baller because she's got that viral combi, sensor, regeneration, decharges, flash pulse, and killer hacker device. She's pretty toolboxy. The one thing that let me down though is the fact that with the change a while back from a white hacking device to a killer hacking device, that means that I can't complete the classifieds, which boned me over the weekend, definitely in supplies. And I think my last game, which meant I had to secure the HVT. So there is not a lot of specialists in this list, and it was difficult, but it was just so tanky. I loved it. I loved it. Um, so you guys. So then what I had as well, I had a Liberto up the board. I've chosen the one without SWC because not that I'm spending my SWC, but just points wise, and I much prefer to have the submachine gun than the mine layer. People got really freaked out with camo tokens on the board with Toha. They didn't know what it was. And having the DAP surprise shot was pretty awesome throughout the day. I really enjoyed that. And then I also had my Clipsos mine layer. It kind of put people off going near some objectives, and I meant that I could stop some fire lanes. However, I think after this tournament, I'm definitely going to switch over to the forward observer mode. I think that will help out a lot more. You'll be able to do more things, I think. So I think that's something I'm probably going to tweak in that. And a lot of me is just be tweaking and tweaking with it. Then finally, in Combat Group 2, I had 2 Keltar specialists. I still think it's worth bringing the Symbiomates. I think they're fantastic. There was a guy next to me who I believe is another Warcore, and I've completely forgotten his name. But he was running purely bombs, and he thought they were fantastic and isolated people, and was doing a lot of work with them. So that was quite nice to see. I've not mastered that yet. And when anything would die, I would move these over. Ah, the bombs, Kev. That was you. Yeah. So you were quite ballsy, I think, having those bombs, and it seems like you've managed to work them well. So I'd be really interested to hear how exactly you use them. And I bet you're probably going to be relying on that new Ferroware guy if you like them. Yeah, so if he isolated Saito and McMurder, you've done some pretty baller work with him this weekend, haven't you? um, yeah. Apart from me, Dave, I've not been able to get my application through yet, which is a shame. So CB, if you're listening, hit me up. So that was my list. I'd written something completely different for highly classified, but I genuinely didn't need it in the end. I couldn't do 2 of my own classified, so I ended up securing the. Did I secure the HVT or was that at the main? I can't remember, but yeah, I think in the end Yeah, that's exactly why, David. I can't I can't be a walker when I'm only talking about plastic crack. Um, but yeah, so the specialists in this list are sort of with the two chain of commands, um, Aeless, Kisan, and the Kumatail. I'm probably going to switch out the Mine Layer because um, I suppose it just allows me more flexibility with um, being able to do all the forward observers sort of classifieds. I think there are a few, and it would make a difference. Sort of, there were 2 rounds within the tournament which I got a minor win, and I think if I'd been able to do my classifieds, I would have pushed me to a major win. Um, that it's an interesting line of thinking because when you think about it, yes, I would have got a major win there, and if I'd been able to do that, I might have been able to sneak. Um, sneaked a little bit higher in the rankings. If my loss had turned into a minor win, I would have taken first place. But theoretically, then you have to start thinking about if you change one game, then you're going to change your opponent, and then that would have meant if my loss wasn't a loss, I would have gone against Riker, and he would have crushed me. Um, so it's all swings and roundabouts really, and it's difficult. You can say. Um, Dave, I agree with you. The old models are pretty fiddly, and I really don't like painting them because of all the straps on them. But I love the way they play. I keep coming back to them. I'm hoping Spiral Corps are a bit better in terms of being able to put together because the old Clipsos was horrendous. So let's have a look then at some of the tables I played on. So let's go. So this was the first table I started on. This was an IJW original. Um, it was really interesting in regards to the terrain that was used and to the I suppose just the rules that they added to it, and I quite like the map. It looks like it's something that they may have got for like a kitchen or something, so it's pretty cool. Hey Luke. Oh, they definitely moved to new assembly types. But true to what I say, you have to assemble clips on starter. Well, Callum, when I put my last one together, I managed to break the last clips off, so that was really sad. Um, having a look at this then. Um, this was a really interesting table. So if you look at the bottom left corner, we've got a market, and Ian had set almost the close quarter rules. This meant that kind of templates were doing an extra damage. I thought that was quite interesting because I've only ever really heard about it being used in the campaign. Um, it never came into effect with our game. Um, However, the jungle terrain certainly did. So the jungle, which you can see over here, I think you can see my cursor, that was quite interesting because what it meant was there was no cover from the bushes. It was sap zone and low visibility, as well as difficult terrain. So um, this building here in the middle is where I had set my decharge classified. So I had to run through. I thought it would be useful to be in this side of the wall because then my opponent, Ground Penguin, wouldn't be able to see me as I did it. And it was the first thing I spent all turn doing. The only downside of this map, I think, really was on the upper side of this. Cardboard terrain, it doesn't give you a lot of cover and it's quite open. I did stick a Clipsos here because his HPT was the other side of the wall, but completely forgot about Mine Layer in the first game, which meant that I could have really altered some of that because he had a Canren that run down there. The downside of this table was that the only way of really getting from A to B was one hell of a long fire lane from here and one from here. Um, we did go around the corners, and what it meant was that I ended up heavy flamethrowing 5 Quang Shi with the McCool. But it was just one long fire lane, but at least on this map there was some things blocking that, but it was kind of a bit of a risky jump across the gap, but it made you kind of think, which was good. So yeah, it was a nice table and very different, which I liked. I don't usually like hard terrain, but there were other elements to it which kind of made up for it, and it was a there was a bit of busyness to it. It looks quite busy because of the jungle terrain, but remember that doesn't provide any cover. Um, yeah, I suppose maybe that's something they can try, Dave. If they if they uh, if they rotate it round a little bit, I'm not sure. I suppose it would force someone to be on the jungle side, which makes, I suppose, that winning role of deployment or going first a bit different. But yeah, definitely. So on to my next board. So I played on this one. I played against Ed Pollard. Ed Pollard was someone I travelled not down with, but he's in the Manchester sort of Hull area, so I see him a lot. I've played him about 4 times at tournaments, and he's whooped me every time until Saturday. Um, so we were playing on this terrain, and I forget who it's by. Um, it's the guys that make the big train, and I can't remember, but it's pre-done terrain, and it was very nice. It was a reasonably open board again. Bandua, you're right, Tim. Bandua, well done. So it was semi-open, and we were playing on Massacre on this, which is a great mission. Both of us had put our guys, so mine is there, the real one, and his was the other side, which was quite funny once we'd worked that out. Ed fought really hard, but I had just such a hugely strong ARO game. Um, he couldn't really get across. I think if we'd had AD troops, it would have been a very different game. He did AD someone down here, but my TO um, TO Clipsos was there waiting for it. So yeah, this was a nice board. I didn't have any problems with it. It's hard to see from this angle, but this blocks a majority of the line of sight, so you can't really be shooting from building to building. But I got nice space here, which got me looking at 2 of the consoles, but this stopped me from kind of shooting down that way. I had a crazy moment where I Ramboed a McCall all the way round to the back left corner, and that's where Mary Problems was, and also Ed's lieutenant, which was a Kreezer Borak. And I spent the end of the game taking out the Kreezer Borak so that he had to have loss of lieutenant for his last turn, which really stopped him taking the game back from me. So I was quite proud of some tactical decisions on that, and I managed to pull out a win against Ed, which was the first time ever. So that was just great in itself. Then coming on to the third board. So this is James Merkage's board. He's brought it to quite a few places, and it's a war meal board. It has been improved upon since the last time I've seen it because he's bought another big building, and I'm not sure which one, but it fills out the table a little bit more, and because he sort of put it up on some rocks, it really sort of covers a good amount of terrain. But there was still some, proper kill zone in the middle. This was the last game I had on day 1, and it was against Aspect Graviton, who is Gabs Groves Walker from Sheffield. I pooed myself when I saw that I was paired against him because I know he's very good, but luck was certainly on my side. So he had a 10 order vanilla combined list, and he had a Raicho over here and a Overdron over here. I had my triad of a Kumatel was sneaked in here, a MSB level 2 sniper, and my Sakir was here. But what actually won me the game was Ayla's Kisan ran up this way, around the left of the board, and viral combi to the Overdron's death, whilst a Rasail got all the way around the flank on the right hand side because I thought that I'm not really going to take these 2 tags on in face-to-face combat really, because every time I took down the Overdron, it kept Dr. Worm kept bringing it back up. So I thought I was going to starve it of orders. And how the game ended was Gaz came up onto the roof of this to tap this console, and we were playing. What was the mission now? It has eluded me. I will find out. I should know this. It's like a quadrant control one. Supremacy, I want to say. Supremacy, yes. Now, I stuck my Rasail Lieutenant with a viral combi rifle in suppressive fire around this corner, and Gaz looked over the top of it to shoot it with the Raicho's heavy shotgun, and he got 6 BTS saves, which took it down. So that meant that I was able to secure more zones than him in the last round, give me my 3rd win of the day, which I was absolutely ecstatic about. I hadn't planned to do that well. I think since the Masters, when I got 1 win and 5 losses, I was kind of just changing my attitude and just going for fun. But I was kind of on a roll at that point. Yeah, yeah. I think the real metagame of it is the tables. I think how you set them up largely impacts how the game's going to go and what you take. It's quite interesting, I think, on that point, Callum, because you've got to take things that are going to be able to deal with. You talk about people taking lists for open and closed tables, so something I've not really considered, but definitely I think is there. All right, so on to the first table of day 2. So I was crapping myself when I got this table. It is a beautiful, beautiful Warsenal table. It's the Ariadne table. Um, Yeah, no, I agree. I think that is being able to deal with that, and I suppose this is where, Callum, I was let down because looking at this table, I pooped myself because um, it was far too open and almost to the point where I thought it was too open to be able to manage with. Um, Personally, I would have moved perhaps one of these buildings in. Um, I think what you struggle with is the under parts of these columns are also open, so that was very, very difficult. Me and Adra played on this table. Yeah, same with me, Kev. I got kind of excited about it because I thought I would have the advantage with such a heavy ARO game. However, um, it just meant my first turn was wasted because I'd run all the way up to get the center supply box and then start taking it back, but I was left in the open with my ass hanging out. Um, yeah, I suppose we did some. We even said to the point where these could be if you stood on the base of them, you could get cover, and they were sat zones. But it's the fact that they weren't line of sight blocking that made it very, very difficult. You could very much see from one end of the table to the other from every single part, apart from that, and this building. So personally, I would have put the buildings in the center. Um, Beautiful, beautiful table, but a real, real pain, and I suppose I found that very difficult. Um, this is the table I had my only loss on against Adra. It was a crazy, crazy back and forth game. I was winning round 1. He took the box off me at the bottom of 2, and with a drop troop, and then I came round with my Rasail because I'd put Ayla's Kisan there hiding it. His drop troop came down and killed her, and then I came and killed him with my Rasail. But then he used one of his specialists to take the box that was under here and hide, and he managed to get his classifieds. I couldn't do either of my classifieds. As I said before, with this list, there wasn't a great deal of specialists or variety of specialists. So my intention was to run down here and get the secure the HVT, but he put an infiltrating specialist next to it and had a TR bot and a another HMG there, which could just see down the whole of this line. So very, very difficult map. I don't know if I would have done any better if we were on a different table. Um, you can't really predict those things, I guess, but it's a shame for such a beautiful table. I wonder if there's a way of making it slightly different, like you say, Dave, whether or not you can put something underneath them to almost block that. I don't know, but the guy who painted it, hats off to him. Really, hats off to him. Last table of the day. Um, yeah, yeah, agreed, Callum, agreed. Last table of today, the tournament, I suppose, was I pulled Seb, and I didn't know who Seb was when I started, but he managed to play every person in the group that I'd gone along with, and it was a really good game, to be honest. I ended on such a high. It was hilarious. So we were playing Frontline, which is a nice easy mission for the end of the day. Um, and this table was baller. So it was reasonably open in the sense that we could gunfire from one to another here. Um, this blocked a bit from running through the center. So um, well, interestingly, um, Seb deployed all in this corner. I think he was a little bit scared about the openness here, but he deployed completely in here. And I think part of that was because he was running a 10 order invincible army list and he wanted to relink every time something died. We had a huge bloody shootout for the first 2 rounds where my Sakil and Sniper was shooting at this missile launcher, Zhu Yong, and a Son Bei smart missile launcher, but he kept bringing it back up with a paramedic that was hiding down here, and his an engineer brought the Son Bei up a couple of times. Um, I managed to run up and take the secure HVT round here because again I couldn't do another classified, which is why I need to change this list. Um, but I ran my Spitfire Rasail all the way around here, and I heavy flamethrowed 3 of the 5-man team or 2 of the 5-man team in one go, and Spitfired them, which worked fantastically. Me and Seb had a hilarious time because there were lots of crits, there were lots of very close dice calls. We were just laughing the entire time, which was really nice. And his list was just baller. Like he was down to like 3 or 4 people, and he still had 7 orders left with all the NCO and tactical awareness. Like he played it really well, but got a little bit of a stomping because of his deployment, I think. And I just went super aggro. He had some unlucky dice, um, but it was a fantastic, fantastic way to end the tournament. So I really, really enjoyed that. I'm going to go over to OTM now. Just to have a look. So these were my scorings for the day. So round one, I got 8-2 against Ground Penguin. I got a 7, that was playing Highly Classified, a 7-3 against Ogre Magi, which was Ed Pollard, and I was super happy about getting that on a masking. A 7-4 against Aspect Graviton on Supremacy. So again, there's 2 of these which were very close to being majors. I think at the end of the day, I wouldn't have had enough OP to have snuck up any higher. And like I said before, it would have changed who I would have played on later. But I was very close, and I think I did it all right. And for me, if you look at these VPs, I'm used to sort of having under 100 left, so I'm quite happy with that. Suppliers I got shows just how close me and Adra's game was. 3-1. He won on 2 classified cards, and I had more points left on him, but very similar close points. And then my game against Seb, the poor dude couldn't even get the multi-scanner down because I disconnected the guy in turn 2. But hilarious, hilarious game. So really, really nice. What it meant for me was that I placed 10th. I'd gone to the tournament with the intention of being in the upper half, and I was just super ecstatic. On day one, I was 5th, which I did not expect with a major, minor, minor, and then to sort of finish 10th, I was absolutely ecstatic. So I had a lot of VPs for me, which was cool. I was quite happy with that. Um, and yeah, the guys above me are people that I really respect and have seen around the tournament scene for a while. So I'm quite happy with that. With my performance. In terms of Elo, I suppose if we look at it, so I'd had some really, really bad tournaments earlier in the year, which were just awful, and we kind of started at. We might as well get it changed, man. I'm back on form. I don't need no wooden spoon. um, so when I started the tournament, I was at 978 because I'd lost so much elo over the last couple of months. And I played Ground Penguin, who was slightly above, so that kind of went my way. But then throughout the rest of the day, I'm essentially playing everyone apart from Seb, so me and Seb are quite similar, who is better than me, and I managed to best all of them apart from Adra. So I was happy with that. Interestingly, I was on the website for ITS this week, ITS ranking Infinity, because I'd gained so much elo, which I thought was funny. So if we have a look, so Merkage is still 13th. He was there this weekend, so pretty good. And yeah, so Flick, who was also at the tournament this weekend, managed to get a lot of elo, and myself. We did notice today that Bronston Pickle, who was last in the tournament, lost quite a lot of elo at this tournament. So yeah, doing all right from this one, but it's not got me anywhere near decent, I suppose, in terms of the rank. I think I'm something like 325. So yeah, so what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to play that video one more time for the people that missed it at the beginning, and then I'll talk about some of the interesting loot that I was given by some of the people at that tournament. Welcome back, everyone. So, if you hadn't seen that earlier, it just shows what a phenomenal venue Firestorm Games was and how awesome and huge this tournament was. I suppose it's interesting. It's probably the largest event I've ever been to, and I think it's probably one of the largest events in the UK that there's been. And I don't know if we'll ever top that, but in comparison to sort of Rumble on Route 66's 152 players they had. During that little break, I was trying to aim to double. I mean, if we can't, man, that would be sick, and it looks like there's space to do so. kind of going through that second route of the video, I was trying to think about some of the things I want to talk about in terms of the venue and the tournament itself, and thinking about the positives and the negatives. And I suppose one thing that I'm really struggling to do for this tournament is thinking about the negatives. It was run really, really well. I'm not shy of complaining about things that don't go well, but the venue was absolutely exquisite. We had our lunch included on the day, and there were sort of 5 different choices, and it was cooked fresh for us there, and that filled me up. There was a pub on site, so we were drinking throughout the day, which was fantastic. Even though we were, well, he actually sorted a couple of us out who were quite hungover on day one. There was a great shop. Um, the tables were fantastic. The missions were fantastic. I got to meet loads of people who I'd only spoken to on Facebook before and seen around the scene, but never actually got to meet in person. So even though it was so far down south for us, there were just some excellent people there. They really, really were. And I kind of a little bit sad that it didn't go on for longer, or that I didn't make more of an effort to try and set something up in the evenings. Not whether you could or not, but kind of just to meet everyone, not necessarily trying to organise a meal because that's just bananas, but trying to sort something out that we could go at some evening entertainment like you see bowling or things like that at some other tournaments. But that's hard to do, and it was already a lot going on. The prize support looked absolutely epic. I suppose for 10th place I got a second Warcore because of AVA2 Warcore. The raffle was huge. There was about 5 300-point box sets that went away. They had trophies. It's the first time I've seen trophies, and they were pretty cool. They were some laser cut trophies, as you saw in the video. There were vouchers for people that brought terrain. There were a painting competition. There was so much prize support. It was really nice to see. And I think everyone from 32 and up got something, whether that was some tokens, and then it got progressively better, from blisters to box sets to huge box sets and whatnot. So I thought that was awesome. Timings, I think, on the day was an interesting thing to talk about. I think I went with Andy, and we both really liked that there was a hard dice down. I've been to a lot of tournaments where people slow play or are just generally slow, but the Cardiff boys seemed pretty quick, and it was 2 hours, and I'm used to 2 hours and 15 minutes, but didn't go over once. It was run really well. We got out of the venue on time both days, which made it really nice for getting back after a 4-hour journey. Really, really appreciate that. And I'm really struggling to find anything that was wrong with the tournament or could have been done better. Perhaps the couple of tables that weren't painted could be painted. Perhaps they could have been shuffled around a little bit for line of sight purposes. But the only thing I can pick up is on like the toilets weren't perfect. Overall it was fantastic. There was parking outside. Cardiff was a roaring laugh on Friday night. We went out for some beers with about 10 of us. It was wicked. So if you can get down there next year, just buy a ticket straight as soon as you can. I'd really, really recommend it because I certainly will be going to this every year that it's on. It was epic. I really, really had a fantastic time. I think in a previous video I've talked about how I was disappointed by the Masters for a couple of reasons, in that not many people turned up. The venue wasn't as good as it could have been. It didn't feel like this felt like a satellite event. The only thing that was missing that I was a little bit sad at is that we didn't have a video from Bostria, potentially revealing some new things. So perhaps that's something that Callum and the Cardiff team can look into next year and getting a projector in and us to have that, because it kind of feels like that extra exclusivity. You're going on the day and you're getting some sneaky goodness shown to you. There wasn't anything new to show. Oh, see, even if they just repeated the Rumble video to us with the different, the UK on, I would have been happy with that. Or any of the ones that have come out recently. I think they showed at Rumble the casting process, and that would have been interesting. So I think it's just badgering Bostria. Yeah, that's something that I guess is the only. It's not even a gripe. But yeah, yeah, no worries, man. Um, I suppose it would have been difficult with the timings of the day to fit that in. We would have all had to have committed to like an extra half an hour, and we were tired at the end of the day, so it's making that judgment call. But maybe at the end of day one, which I was surprised that the store didn't stay open later actually for a gaming store that size. I thought they'd be open till 10 o'clock, but yeah, I think that's me really searching for something to moan about because it was just such an excellent venue and weekend. I really appreciate it, and we'll definitely be back. So for the last thing of this evening, I'm going to very quickly talk about some loot I've come by. So because we were there for the Infinity tournament, Firestorm Games proceeded to crack out the Spiral Corpse, which I was super excited about. So excited about that I phoned up my own retailer and cancelled my order just so I could have it there and then in my hands rather than wait another week and a bit. So I came away with the book, which I haven't had a look at yet, but I'm quite excited about it. I think what I'm going to try and do in my local club with Luke and the gang is have a look at running the campaign and going through the missions because that sounds quite fun, which I'm excited about because the previous ones didn't have that. Hero for that, by the way. Yeah. So alongside that, so the Brawler came with that book, which I'm excited about. I'm not too keen on its weird face. It's got like you can't really see with this light. It's got like a strange hacking mask, which looks a bit odd, like an old World War sort of face mask, or kind of like one of them aliens that jumps on. Then I got Saito Togan. Maybe one day he'll make an appearance in my JSA. Because he'll have the specialist operative in that thing. I just wanted it because I quite like getting the limited editions. I feel not that I always use them. I mean, most of the stuff I haven't even painted, like the Fat Yan Yans yet, but I just like having them, just sort of like for collection purposes. And then I got the giant spiral box set, which I was absolutely buzzing about. All of which it's still got all the limited edition figures in. So that's kind of the main reason I was happy to cancel my my order at that time. After seeing Kev, who's in the chat now, after seeing him how he did and sort of listening to a few of the things that he worked with, I'm quite excited to try some of the new things. But the difficulty I think of having after that weekend is that I did so well in so I ended up with a major, minor, loss, major, which for me is just baller. To me, I did so well that I kind of want to carry on at these tournaments rather than switch out and learn new things. But the models are so good, so I'm really torn. So I was tempted to pick up a second box, but then realised you can't have that many reeks and things like that. So I'm just going to pick up the second Tagima when it comes out with the right weapon choice that I think I'm going to use more. So we'll have to see. I don't know what I'm going to do for the Northern Open on the 18th of May. I'm really happy with my Toha. I probably can't paint that much in that time either. So here come the excuses to not do that. Thanks, Kev. So for the very last part of tonight's episode of Prime Boys, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Warcore Chris's little business called Monstrous Makings, and I'll do a full review of these later down the line. But he was kind enough to give me 2 items. So the first, you can't really see, but what's engraved on it is classified objectives. So this is something that Warcore Chris makes with his 3D printers, and what you can do is the green cards go on one side and the red in another. So at the very beginning of the tournament, I opened up my classified deck and I shuffled it like you did with the old one and mixed all the colours together. But now that's not going to happen. So Monstrous Making, let's have a quick look on the website. If I can find it. And I hope I'm getting the name right, because that would be very sad if I'm not. after he was so kind to give me some. No, it's definitely Monstrous Making. Let's go back to the review camera. Monstrous Makings on monstrousmakings.co.uk. So Warcore Chris makes these items. So this classified deck box is only £9.50. I think it's pretty good, and it's supporting a small one-man business who's trying to feed his kids, and you know, now that he's kind of helping them out at home. They're really cool. I think they're really, really cool. They are, yeah, I agree, Callum. They are really smart. They're a little bit stiff to start off with. You have to kind of put your fingers underneath this bit to get them off, but it makes it so much easier and quicker when you're getting around. It does fit in cards with a sleeve, so definitely have a look over at Monstrous Makings and get yourselves some. Then the other thing that he gave me was this. So I feel a little bit dirty about. uh, he gave them to me to review. I didn't ask for them. Thanks very much, Dave. So this is what else he gave me. So I feel a little bit funny about reviewing these because my friend Nigel also makes something very similar, which I'm going to review them side by side so that you guys can make a decision yourselves. So this is silhouette markers. So silhouette 7, and what they do is they come apart. They are stacked like nested Russian doll eggs. So now I have a silhouette 4. These pop out so that you can lie them flat on the table. What's really interesting is that they stack in with each other and they go all the way down to your standard sort of silhouette 1 and silhouette 1, silhouette 2 when it's attached. They're awesome. I've used Nigel's all the time for the silhouette 2 because having this cylinder is so much easier to tell if you could actually see the model than if you are using one of the square markers that we're used to. It doesn't have the lines on so you can see if it's 3mm or not. However, I don't think you really need it, if I'm being completely honest with you. He does these in a range of different colors. I think they're absolutely fantastic, and I use them every single game because it's so much easier than using anything else. So if we have a quick look over here on monstrousmakings.co.uk, they are nesting. So if you have a look here, £10 for silhouette sizes 1 to 7. It's very easy to store, like Callum's saying right now. And he does a huge different amounts of color options. You can't see them, I don't think, but they're awesome. I would definitely pick yourself up a set if you can. They're even quite good just for things like there's a silhouette 3 in here, and that was kind of useful in my game for putting down to see whether or not we could see over the objective. Just because it's got that depth to it, you can then work out from line of sight whether or not you can see sort of like a silhouette behind it. So really, really good. I would really recommend picking them up. It's something that, to be quite honest, as TOs, I would really encourage you guys buying them and then giving them out as prizes or working out some deal with him, because it would be awesome. It would be awesome to receive these because they're so good. So yeah, that is going to be the last thing I talk about tonight. Is there anything you guys want to ask or anything you want to go through before we go? No worries, Chris. If you're in the chat, then actually just thinking about it, I do really think maybe hooking into talking to different warcores for using them as prize support would be a really good way forward. I would be ecstatic about receiving one of these. Yeah, definitely is. Yeah, definitely for balancing models. Yeah, I suppose if you're still working with card terrain, that's a really good use for them, Kev. Yeah. Yeah, I think they're fantastic. So yeah, if anyone's got one that would like, you can find Monstrous Makings on Facebook, as you can see here. Give him a shout and he'll sort you out. In addition to going over to monstrousmakings.com for that or the card deck. Wicked piece. He does some other stuff for Aristair too, even though I don't play it. But the full review of that will be coming in the future. So I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing the video I've put forward about the tournament. I hope you enjoyed having a look review of the tables and how the weekend's gone. And I will catch up with you on the next episode of Primed. So thanks all for watching. Take care.